Hello, everyone. And first, let me say Happy New Year. It is the year 2022, and today is the 15th day of January. Can you believe that we are already midway in the first month of this year? We have gathered today because we want to look at ways that we can be more faithful in our stewardship. We want to really explore ways that we can budget well, plan well, and also understand opportunities that we may not have ever considered but are available to us. I am so pleased that I have several folk that have joined with me. Martha Stokes is the conference lay leader for the Virginia conference. She will be with us to greet you and to speak about several things that I really want you to hear about. One is the diversity kitchen that she leads and is really gaining a lot of popularity. She'll speak about that. And then she's also going to share probably some things as it relates to our conference that we need to know. We're also being joined today by a very special guest, Dr. Cedric Bridgeforth, who actually sent us a video so that he could be a part of our gathering today. The Norfolk congregation, we know him because he serves as our church consultant. And he has helped us for the last 4 years plus to plan properly, to really look at how we are executing and doing ministry in our community so that we can really be who God has called us to be, that presence of Christ where we serve. And also living into that challenge that our bishop put to us, Bishop Sharma D. Lewis, when she said, we are to make disciples of Jesus Christ, but we are to make them in such a way that they become not only disciples, but lifelong learners. We're going to be joined as well by a team from Town Bank. Many of you know that Town Bank has walked beside the Norfolk Church for many years now. They have helped us to move to several locations. They've helped us to manage loans that we needed to make in terms of renovations, and also helped individuals in our congregation and in the larger community. We have Yvonne Allman. She is the Executive Vice President for Community Engagement. She is being joined today by Ron Stowe and also Don Simmons. And so we believe that these 90 minutes will really be worth your while and worth the time. I have a personal story that I want to share quickly. I shared this with Martha. I got so inspired when I read the materials that were submitted that I actually made 2 phone calls on yesterday. One phone call resulted in one of my monthly bills being reduced by $35. I don't know about you, but that's significant to me. The other one, they said, well, Dr. Daniels, we can't reduce your bill, but what we can do is give you more services. And so I believe that when we are faithful, God is more faithful. And we have this team this day that will help us to really live into this new year, new opportunities, while it is challenging. And while we are still facing some very unprecedented times, times that are changing so rapidly around us, but God is helping us to manage every twist and every turn. Now, if I was at my church, Martha, this would be about the time when I would say, what time is it? It's the offering time, and I would pass the collection plate. But I'm not going to do that today. I just know that God has really blessed our congregation to be a blessing. And we pray that this experience today will be a blessing to you. Let me now bring Dr. Bridgeforth's video up for you.
You this morning as you anticipate all the great things that
Okay, forgive me. I'm going to have to bring him in again because normally it would queue right up with no problem, but it's muting him. So let me do that once more.
To the needs of the people in your immediate community. Methodist Church members, and a special greetings to Pastor Sherry Daniels. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning as you anticipate all the great things that God has in store for you. Now, I'm here in Southern California, in Los Angeles, and cannot travel to be with you due to all the complications with the pandemic. Do know that over these past few years that I've been blessed to serve alongside your pastor as a coach for Norfolk and also involved with the Virginia Focus initiative within your conference. I have learned quite a bit about you and learned right alongside you. We've taken some time to consider what it means to be a church in this present age, what it means to be relevant to the needs of the people in your immediate community and in the Hampton Roads area. We are grateful for the witness of Norfolk United Methodist Church through the years, but I have to tell you, we're more grateful for what Norfolk can and shall do going forward as you refocus and recenter on efforts of discipleship and evangelism and stewardship, reaching out to local businesses, helping them to be all that they can be. It will aid your ministry. The uses that you have put forth for your parsonage there makes a difference in the lives of people trying to get back on their feet and is a great witness to the broader church and community at large as to how we have to envision doing ministry on the other side of the pandemic. Because the truth of the matter is, many folk are still waiting for things to get back to the way that they used to be. And I think most of us are starting to settle into the reality that what was shall never be again. We will probably never, ever feel comfortable hugging and kissing and shaking hands and being all up close to one another. We will long for that touch. We'll long for those connections, but there's something that has changed in our midst that we have to pay attention to. It's not always safe for us to be all up in and through each other's spaces, but that does not mean that we have been called away from making holy connections one with another. That does not mean that we can no longer reach out and connect our hearts to hearts, our thoughts to thoughts, emotions to emotions, and really feel the pains of our neighbors and express compassion for those who need to hear it and know of the love and the saving grace of Jesus Christ. Norfolk United Methodist Church, you've been blessed beyond measure. I know you have your own struggles individually and as a congregation, but there are churches around the world who would give all that they have to be just half the presence that you've been, to have a gifted pastor as the one you have, and to have the land resource and the building resource that you have. You have everything you need in order to be what God is calling you to be in this present age. My hope and my prayer as one who gets to journey alongside you is that you will open yourselves even more than you have in the past to what God has in store for your future. That you will indeed pray like you've never prayed before. That you'll give of your time and volunteer like you never have before. That you will extend all of your resource like you never have before. Why? Because the time, the talent, and treasure that you claim to be yours is not yours. It's God's. And God has loaned it to you. And the question is, what will you do to make good on the investment that God has already made in you? If you're still breathing, Beloved, if you're still inhaling and exhaling, God is not through with you. God still has something for you to do. And your job is to find yourself doing what God has created and called you to do in this present time. I understand it doesn't look the way you thought it would look. It may not feel the way you want it to feel. But the question you have to ask yourself is this what God would have me do? Am I living up to the ideals that God has set forth for me as a disciple of Jesus Christ, seeking the transformation of the world? And as a congregation, are we doing all that we have been poised, positioned, and anointed to do to bring about the transformation of the world? Beloved, there is no time like the present for us to recenter, to refocus, and reclaim who we are in God, and to give all that God has given to us back to God and to God's purposes. Know that you do not do this alone. Somebody right here in Los Angeles is praying with you, praying for you, but is also journeying with you to help you to reflect on how you can make deep and abiding connections within your community, how you can make deep and abiding connections within your congregation as you find new ways of being in the world, new ways of living out the gospel on the other side of pandemic, new ways of fighting racism, new ways of combating mass incarceration, new ways of speaking against the ills of cancer and HIV, new ways of helping folks heal after divorce or the loss of a child or a parent, new ways of addressing the ills and the turmoil that comes with Alzheimer's and other diseases and realities that we face in our families. Yes, it's our time to refocus, to recenter, and maybe it's even our time to reframe the questions we've been asking. And so I'll leave you with this one. What are you doing as a disciple of Jesus Christ to bring about a transformation of the world? What are you doing as a congregation to make disciples of Jesus Christ so that the world will be transformed by his love and through his grace? Again, Cedric Bridgeforth, your coach, your resident consultant. I love you all, and do know that my prayers are with you, and Godspeed as you serve. Amen and amen.
Amen. And I'm going to bring Martha Stokes, our conference lay leader, in with me. Martha, I'm thinking I don't have to preach tomorrow, because if I just play Dr. Bridgeforth's video, I think that would take care of it, wouldn't it?
I think every church in the Virginia conference could benefit from hearing Dr. Bridgeforth's message.
Well, that video is going to be on our website, along with the materials that will be presented through Town Bank. But I wanted us to just spend maybe a couple of minutes thinking about what he challenged us to do, what we've been challenged to do over these years, and as we move through these very difficult times, how we continue to have that hope, how we continue to be the presence of Christ, and how we continue to reach hearts and minds and help others not to give up that hope. Are we off the path, Martha, or are we on the right path?
I think we are on the right path. You know, I focus a lot of my time on older adults. And the one thing that I try to make sure I say over and over again is that we never stop learning. We never stop being disciples, no matter what our age or what our circumstance. And so you're on the right path. We're on the right path to be continuing learners, to be continuing leaders, to help others learn how to serve and how to come to know Jesus. So there are so many ways for us to do that, to gather together as the Virginia United Methodist Conference around this vision of being lifelong learners that bring others to know Jesus and to serve in our unique ways, given our unique gifts and talents. And that's all a part of our stewardship, since that's our focus today, our stewardship of time, talent, presence, witness, and finances.
Absolutely, absolutely. Martha, I know that we want you to say a word about the Diversity Kitchen. And I'm going to look into remodeling my kitchen. My members would probably tell you, now you all know that the pastor cannot cook, but I swear I can really work with a crock pot.
It's one of my favorite cooking tools as well.
Absolutely.
And I still haven't moved to the Instapot yet. My crock pot is still my go-to. So,
Amen. But tell us
yeah.
about Diversity Kitchen. Uh, Also, help us to understand our connection as United Methodists here in Virginia. You just shared with me that we have, what, 1,130 churches, local churches,
We
rural,
do.
urban, from one part of Virginia to the other, and we continue to work in mighty ways. Also, you have another full time job that's going to be very interesting to us as well. So I'm going to put you in full view so that we can just let you just kind of share that with us for the next few minutes.
Thank you. And greetings. I should have said that to begin with when Sherry first brought me in, but greetings this morning or this afternoon. Now, actually, I am the Virginia Conference lay leader, and I'm honored to be serving in that role. It's been about a year and a half now that I get to represent all of us as the called people of God, the laity of the United Methodist Churches in the Virginia Conference. As Dr. Daniel said, we go from Virginia Tech to Old Dominion. We go from the state line at North Carolina up to DC. We go from the Eastern Shore to the Shenandoah Valley. So we are a diverse group of people. And one of the things that the 330,000 plus of us as laity could certainly benefit from is getting to know each other better and understanding that while we all have our unique backgrounds and our experiences in life, we have this common goal of sharing the message of Jesus Christ and doing that through the structure that we know as our United Methodist Church. When I came into this role as lay leader, one of the things I said to a number of people in the conference office and communications was that I wanted to do something different, not just a newsletter or a regular email, but find a way for us to connect a little differently. It just so happened that we were having that conversation over a meal together. So as we talked more, this idea of Diversity Kitchen came to life. And Diversity Kitchen is an opportunity to gather in our Methodist heritage of loving to feast together around the table. And then, of course, connecting that with the sharing of our communion table, but also being together in a way that's authentic and honest and addressing tough questions or tough challenges that are before us. So we've done 2 episodes of Diversity Kitchen so far. We have others planned for this year. But our first episode focused on our African American connection and with our African churches and our Black churches. And we had that first episode on Watch Night, the history of the Watch Night service. And one of our clergy, Pastor Debbie Straughter, tried to teach me in that episode how to cook greens. And I will admit I didn't learn very well because I haven't been very successful since then. But we talked about that connection of food to the Watch Night services and the beginning of the new year, and that whole history of waiting for the announcement of the end of slavery to come. The second episode of Diversity Kitchen, we focused on the Lunar New Year with 2 of our Korean pastors. And we had an opportunity while we made Thai guk soup to talk about some of the violence that was happening throughout last year in our Asian American communities and against our Asian American brothers and sisters. So look forward to other opportunities this year to focus on both our connections and the challenges that we're facing together. Those are on the conference website. So if you haven't had a chance to see them, you can go to vaumc.org and just Google or search Diversity Kitchen, and they will come up, so you can watch them at any time. I'm sorry, Sherry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I was just going to say that leads us perfectly into one of the other roles that you feel, and which is in line with what we are talking about today.
Yes, my real job, my paying job, is as the Director of Church and Community Relations with Pinnacle Living, which is our Virginia Conference agency for senior living. Pinnacle Living, you might know us better as either Virginia United Methodist Homes, we changed our name in 2017, or as Hermitage Roanoke, Hermitage Richmond, Hermitage Northern Virginia, Cedarfield, or Windsor Mead. We've actually been a part of the Virginia Conference since 1948, so we started with the Virginia Methodist Conference. One of my roles there is to help be a resource for older adults across the United Methodist churches. And one of the resources we offer in that regard is a document that's called 5 Wishes. And I've sent Dr. Daniels copies of that so that you all have them at the church, but also has the link to agingwithdignity.org, where you can find this document online. I think a part of being a faithful steward is giving attention to how we plan ahead for all aspects of life. So that means we need to give attention to things like wills, power of attorney, medical directives, end of life decisions. And this 5 Wishes document helps you to do that, helps you to have a conversation with your family and your loved ones and begin to write down those different decisions that you're making. One thing that this does is it actually acts as a legal document in Virginia. So once you have it witnessed and notarized, you can use it, or you can use it as the beginning of planning for other needs with your attorneys and your lawyers. But this and other documents need to be kept in a safe place where your family and friends know that they can find them in time of need. I think one of the things that this pandemic has really shown us is that we have a lot of people who have not given thought, especially to things like medical directives and who has responsibility for your life matters if you're not able to make decisions. So power of attorney. COVID, of course, brought many people to the hospital very, very sick, many who ended up dying as a result, who did not have any of those documents in place. So it just is another reminder of the importance of doing that. So you have them. Contact information for me and Pinnacle Living is on the back. So if there's anything that we can do in the future to be of assistance, or if there's just anything I can do to be of assistance, Dr. Daniels, please don't hesitate to call on me or to pass my contact information on to members of the church.
Well, you already know I'm not going to hesitate to call on you. And again, as you said, COVID has taught us how to connect, even when the weather does not cooperate. It has taught us how to connect with the technology and learning new ways to do this. And so we marvel at the fact that Dr. Bridgeforth out of Los Angeles was able to get that video to us. Martha, where are you?
I am in the Richmond area.
You're in the Richmond area. And then the team from Town Bank, they're all, I believe, in this area. But what we know now is that we can make disciples, and we now live fully into John Wesley's words, the world is our parish.
Definitely.
And so it's a joy. I want to thank you again for taking the time out on this Saturday to be with us and to share that information. And those documents will be available not only on the website, but we did receive them in the church office, and they will be available to our members.
Great.
So again, go ahead.
I was going to say, we have plenty more. So if you need more additional print copies, don't hesitate to let us know.
And then say that one more time, Martha, that we should not fear or should not procrastinate in terms of making sure that this information is not only up to date, but that it is in a very secure place. So
Definitely.
that when it is needed, we can access it.
Right. And that those we love, or those who we have given that permission to be a part of those decisions with us, know where to find it.
Exactly. So again, Martha Stokes, the conference lay leader for the Virginia Conference, Thank you so much for your time. I am going to start to turn now to the town bank team. But of course, I know that my members and others that will view this will be asking, and we will definitely make sure that as it is needed, we will put them in touch with you and or others that will help them to get their cha-ching back. Amen. Praise
Would
the
love
Lord. And that was a pastor's little fancy title. But we may have another title for the next one. But it's all going to revolve around us being faithful in our stewardship. And we know that that means more than money. That means our time, our talents, our gifts, and our service. So thank you, Martha, for all
You're-
that you do.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
All right. As I take Martha out, Yvonne, I want you to prepare to come on board with us.
I'm ready.
I know you are. You stay ready.
I do.
Yvonne Almond, Town Bank, Executive Vice President for Community Engagement, and a true friend to the Norfolk United Methodist Church. You have a team of persons that are with you. I'm actually going to bring them in, and because of how this platform works, so that people can hear, we'll all be on the screen together.
Okay. That's okay. Will we be on the same screen for the whole
No.
time? Because that's okay too, because I was thinking, maybe they could feed me questions and I can feed them questions to make it more of a conversation. So whichever way you decide.
They will hear you for sure, but as you all are doing your presentations, what I will do is just bring you all in periodically. If you need to be together, just give me a shout out and I'll put all of you on the same screen. So
what do you guys think? Do you want to do it all so that we can inject a question if necessary? Because I know I'm always full of questions to feed to like Dawn and Ron.
That'll be fine.
All right. Well, I tell you what, let me allow you all to stay on the screen. Please introduce them in the parts that they're planned today, and then we will allow you all to go into your presentations.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yvonne Allman, and I have my team here, Ron Stowe from Newtown Mortgage and Dawn Simmons with Berkshire Hathaway Town Realty. And we're actually going to do it's not a series, it will be a short series. A lot of people don't realize how to build wealth. Building wealth is with home ownership, but there's a thing that you have to do first before you can just own a home. So we're going to kind of go through the process. My part will be to for you to understand how to asset build, your financial literacy, creating a budget, creating a spending plan to know where your money is all the time and how much money you have, so that when you want to go to the next step of buying a home, which is how a lot of families create wealth. A lot of us have not been able to do that in years past, but the opportunities are available to us now, very different opportunities. And a lot of people don't have the right information, but getting qualified to see what type of home that you qualify to purchase. Ron will cover that, because that would be the next step once you have your credit and stuff in order. And then after that, if you qualify, let's say for a $500,000 home, then you get a professional realtor like Dawn, who can show you homes in your price range and under your price range, as a matter of fact, so that you can purchase a house that you can afford. And some people say, well, I just see a house, I want it, I can do this myself. You can't. And Dawn will let you know how a realtor can help you get the proper home, a home that is in the right shape, and just help you through that process. So for my portion, I'm going to start with the new year and asset building. What is an asset? Assets are things that you own. It can be financial, physical, or productive, and it's something of value. So all of us want to build assets. If you own jewelry, if you own clothes and cars, those are kind of part of your value, but we're talking real value, actually having cash in your hand and understanding your financial situation. So everybody needs to really assess your current financial situation. Dr. Daniels, Pastor Daniels will have some monthly budget sheets for you at the end and some spending plans that you'll be able to use to do your own assessment. One of the things that Ms. Stokes talked about was, people don't have their information together to share with family members. And a lot of reasons is because we haven't done it for ourselves. So we don't really want other people to see how bad our situation is, or we think it is. And we don't really want people to know what we have and what we don't have. That's a mistake. So we need to individually go through what you have, assess your own situation. If you're a couple, you can do it together, or each individual in the of the couple can actually assess their own current financial standing. And I would recommend that each person run a credit report on yourself. This will not give you the score at www.annualcreditreport.com. It used to be that you had to, you could only run that report once a year, and sometimes it would be after you were turned down for credit. Now you can order that report at least once a month on yourself. And I would recommend that everybody at least run it now. During the pandemic, there have been a lot of scams, even before the pandemic. And you really have no idea whether or not somebody has stolen your identity, has taken out credit in your name, or whatever. But www.annualcreditreport.com will give you a report unique to you from all three credit reporting agencies that exist. When you need a mortgage, they're going to do a triple merged credit report on all three of those credit reporting agencies. If you want to buy a car in this area, they typically just use Equifax. So you will create your own financial situation. How much cash do you have? Write down cash, and you'll see that on the form. This is how much cash I have. Write it down. Once you see it, it may surprise you in a good way or in a bad way, but at least write it down so you'll know what that is. Your current expenses or your bills, write down every single one of them. Include everything, your rent, how much you spend on cable, on phone systems, toiletries, everything, your groceries a week. Write down everything. And there's a budget sheet for that. And we're not saying write down what you think you should spend. Write down what you spend so that you will know exactly what it is that you're spending on a monthly basis.
So Yvonne, pause for just a minute, because when we've heard this information before, but each year is a good time to go back and check all of your accounts, correct?
Exactly. And as Pastor said earlier, there's found money, can we request a lower interest rate if we've paid our bills on time? Yes, you can. And especially if you have a MasterCard or a Visa, sometimes you'll see an annual fee of $25. I mean, it's only an annual fee of $25, and they're counting on you thinking of it that way. But when you think of the millions of people who are paying $25 a year, that's a lot of money. You don't have to pay that. And sometimes it will just disappear, but you can ask them to remove that. If you've had a secured credit card for years where you had to put up maybe $1,000 or $2,000 in order to have a credit card for that amount, if you've been making that payment on time for more than a year, you can call them and say, I've been making this payment for a couple of years, and they will have put your $1,000 or $2,000 in a savings account, and they will release your money back to you. And then you have a couple $1,000s right then.
And you also recommended something else to me. Many of us have subscription services, and oftentimes we will forget that we have signed up for a trial that will last 3 months, and then they will start to automatically charge you for that payment.
Exactly.
We should also check that as well.
Check everything. Check your statements when it comes in. Check your bank statement when it comes in to make sure that everything you have written or used your debit card for is accurately documented in your bank statement. I remember writing, making a payment to Capital One for $200. So I'm checking my statement to make sure that the payment's coming through, and I see $20 for Capital One. So I called them and I said, what is this $20 payment? They said, that's the payment you made. I said, if you look in your billing department, you'll see that I made a $200 payment. So they did. And they said, oh, you did make a $200 payment. They didn't debit the $200, but they said that they would make an adjustment on my account because if I owed $200 and only sent in 20, I was going to be past due, and then I was going to have late fees and interest added onto that. So since I called them, they waived all of that, and the next month I could pay the $200 if I wanted, but they accepted that $20 as the right payment. But if I hadn't looked, it would have created a domino effect of fees and charges and increase in interest rate and everything. So always watch your money every day. Check your bank account to make sure that every transaction is the transaction that you created, and that nothing additional or less than what you put out is actually in your checking account. If you still write checks, and a lot of people still do, in the bottom right-hand corner of your check are numbers across the bottom. That is actually what they have debited from your account, which is not necessarily the amount of money that you wrote the check for. I wrote a check once, and this, if it happens to me this much, it's probably happening to other people all over the place. I wrote a check for $11.67, and they debited $1,167 from my account. At the time, I was a student, so it really created a problem by overdrawing the account and then all of the subsequent overdraft fees. And if that happens, the bank will send a letter to everybody who had a fee or had their check bounced to let them know that it was the bank's fault, so that it will not impact your credit.
So Yvonne, you also, in the information you sent me, reminded us that particularly for persons that are older, we now have companies that are calling us, encouraging people to sign up for things or saying that they have signed up. What should we be paying real close attention to as it relates to that? And I say this because I'm a caregiver for my mother.
And I was for mine too. So yes.
Actually came to me and she said, I got a phone call. And what should I do? They wanted me to give them my social security number. They wanted me to give them my credit card number. I said, say no, say no, say no.
And for those of you who are taking care of someone older, you know, my mom was always a fierce, independent person. But as she got older, you know, she became a little bit more vulnerable and would let people in the house that she never would have done that before. So you really, if you're taking care of somebody, this is not the same person that you grew up with, and teach them how to hang up the phone. And I did a lot of hanging up on the phone. And that's why you can run your credit report on a regular basis, because even if they have not given the information, given somebody permission to access their information, because they're older, they may have done it anyway. And you can look at the credit report and have that taken off of the credit report and have that investigated. So running their credit report at least a couple of times a year is really a good idea. Also, if you're looking, when you're assessing your own wants and needs for your financial goals, you know, after you do your current one, then look for places that you have worked in the past. And as you start to get older in your 50s and 60s, you know, maybe we've had a couple of jobs. We may have participated in their retirement plan or not. But when you get to be around in your 50s and 60s, look back at those companies, because they are probably holding retirement money for you. You need to go back and look at retirement money, because unless you approach them, they're not going to send you your retirement money. Sometimes they will cash it in and send the money to the state treasurer. So when you see where the state treasurer is having, you know, where's my money, these types of things, those things actually work. A friend of mine, when he was in his 30s, was a scientist for one of our telecommunications companies, and he left to form his own company. And I told him about these sites, and usually a lot of business people may or may not be that financial savvy. They still need some of the basics too. I said, why don't you, you know, you worked in New Jersey or wherever it was, why don't you go to the treasurers and see if there's money there? He said that he did that, and they don't tell you how much, but they had him fill out a form and send it in. So he forgot about it. About a month later, he gets a call from somebody from New Jersey to tell him that they were going to be in the area, that they wanted to meet with him because they were going to meet with a couple of other people. And he was skeptical, and he said, okay, they could meet at his office, at his company. The person came there and they were from the state of New Jersey, and they did have retirement money for him. And he's 61 years old at the time. They had retirement money from him. They had a check for him for $250,000 that he had never even thought to look for. I have other friends now that, they're in their 60s. I say, go back to your former employers and see what you have in those retirement plans. I found one in one of my plans that said, at 55, you could start collecting $700 a month. I said, sold. I'm going to collect that. Another friend of mine has recently found he's going to get $450 a month for the rest of his life from some place that he worked at when he was in the 1980s. So check that information wherever you have worked before. You can find everything on the internet and go back and take a look at that. Part of your planning for your financial future, as Ms. Stokes says, people aren't prepared. Start planning retirement. If you work for yourself, you can still put a retirement plan together, a SEP, which is called a Simplified Employee Pension Plan. It can be for employees that you have, if you have one employee, or if you're self-employed, you can start to pay yourself. Put something away. It is going to be really important as you start to approach your 50s and 60s. And if you're not at that point, at least start out of every paycheck that you get, put something away for yourself. When I pay MasterCard and Visa, I also pay Yvonne. And so, and start to get your investments together. If you want, most people are like, I want to invest in Bitcoin. No investor is going to talk to you unless you've got maybe $20,000 or $30,000 that you can afford to lose. So if you can't afford to lose that, then you may want to just stick with savings, CDs, even though they're not paying much. Stick with those until you get a significant amount of money. And you're doing this savings to get, as we say, we're asset building, to build towards one of the largest assets most middle class and even higher income people have, and that is a home.
Okay, and Yvonne, hold that, because Martha, I know you're still here with us. I'm going to bring you back in for just a second. Martha, we have a rule of thumb in the church, don't we? In terms of when we look at how we manage faithfully, it's a 80-10-10 principle, which is you are going to donate 10% to the church. That's your tithe. You're going to donate another 10% to the charity of your choice, and then you're going to manage living expenses from the remaining 80%. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, ma'am. That 10% tithe is something that a lot of us have learned in our religious backgrounds, that is our first gift back to God of what we have earned.
Yeah, and the interesting part of that is this. Most of us that have developed that, what we call a spiritual discipline of saving and giving, we have learned that when we tithe, in some respects, that gift that you've given manages to find you again in various ways. It may be something that you did not even expect. Yvonne, as you said, who would think that a former employer that you have not thought about for 15 years or 10 years or 5 years could possibly be holding money that belongs to you?
And your heirs never find out about it. I mean, no, you don't go to them, and it may not seem like the right thing, and a lot of things aren't, but that is your money. Go back to every employer. I worked for a bank that failed, and I'd been working there for about 5 or 6 years. I went back to them. I get a monthly check from that plan for $63.48, but that's gas money.
Amen.
It's my money. I worked there, and so I will get that for the rest of my life. $63.48 every month direct.
Well, Yvonne, that used to be gas money.
That's true.
one tank these days.
One
maybe.
tank.
But
still, that's my money. That's $63.48 every month.
We always want to make sure that people are understanding that when we're discussing these kinds of things, there's a connection
Mhm.
uh, with the entirety of our lives, our spiritual lives. There's a connection with our daily living. All of that goes together. And
Mhm.
I know Martha hears this. I hear it, especially as a pastor. People are
Mhm.
asking us, you know, is it is the church still relevant for us today?
Mhm.
My answer is absolutely yes.
Mhm.
Not because I'm a pastor, only because life can be hard sometimes.
Mhm.
In the faith community, we are charged to hold one another up. We are charged to care for one another. And we all have those moments when we need someone else to just say an encouraging word to us or to just
Exactly.
be there with a listening ear as we move through that difficulty. And then we're able to return that in terms of how we care for them. And
Mhm.
so I want us to now transition. I wanted Martha to come back in on that because sometimes we don't really think about if we start to do our budgets, track our expenses, track what we are able to spend and save. We really do teach that if you follow that 80-10-10, you basically will be okay and you will do
Mhm.
all right.
And live within your means. When
Well, you
you
said something earlier. You said we need to almost live under our means.
under our means. And,
Right.
and
Don't
and
spend
that's
everything.
why you have to be careful. So when people like Ron tell you you qualify for a $300,000 loan and you see that $700,000 house, somebody who's not necessarily the most honest realtor, they say we can get you into that $700,000 house. Once they've gotten that, you're on your own and you've got those types of expenses. And there are people who cannot make their first mortgage payment because they do not have the money to do that. And you don't want to be in that situation. When I was
Ab-
looking for a home, and I'm a banker, I knew what my budget was, and I knew I wanted to be under my budget. That person took me first day out. Every single home was way past what I wanted to pay, and the last time I didn't even get out of the car. I said, "This is not what I asked for," but I can
Amen.
do that. Some people don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I didn't mean to hurt her feelings, but I said, "Look, that's not what I want to do." So,
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna actually take uh, Martha out, and you just led me into the next segment because we have the person here that can tell us about mortgages, and we also have a person that can tell us about uh, finding the right realtor.
exactly.
All right. Again, thank you, Martha. I just pulled you back in. You were thinking that you were done.
Anytime.
Okay. All right. Let me see. I gotta get you out of that. And oh, let me do it the right way. And you want me now to bring in Ron, don't you?
Correct.
Okay.
That's in our asset building. The next step, you've got your money going, and instead of putting $20,000 to $30,000 in an investment that you don't understand, you may be able to put it in a house.
Okay. Well, let me turn it to you all. And I'm really trying to get myself out of the frame.
Hmm.
But if I
That's
do
okay.
that, it will mess with the sound. And I want people to hear everything that you all are saying.
We'll stay
So
right there.
so
Good
let me do
afternoon.
this. I'm gonna put Ron on the large screen, and then you just
Okay.
walk us through what we need to understand about mortgages, how to deal with mortgage companies, because even after you purchase a home, there are still things that can make a difference in terms of how you manage uh, your resources.
Hmm.
You're absolutely correct, Pastor Daniels, and thank you, Yvonne. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ron Stowe with Newtown Mortgage. We're a town bank company, and really love to have the opportunity to speak with you on this new year. You're correct, Pastor Daniels. January 15th. Wow, the year is flying by so quickly. Um, I like to explain. People ask, you work for Newtown Mortgage. I like to explain it this way. We are a town bank company, which means it's a town bank church, but I sit at the Newtown pew. Okay, so I work with Newtown Mortgage. But what Yvonne was talking about earlier, as far as staying within your means, is so very important. When we qualify folks for homes, and you may find out that you qualify. A lot of times people qualify, they don't even know that they qualify. They just assume that they don't qualify, which is disappointing to me. If your desire is on your heart to buy a house, you should look into it, because you may qualify right here, right now, or with very little effort, and you can start your home ownership journey. But when we do qualify folks for buying a house, if you're talking to a good mortgage company or a good lender, they're going to give you two answers. They're going to give you the answer to the question of how much you qualify for. That could be $300,000 or $350,000. And then going back what Yvonne was talking about, living within your means, that lender should also ask you, how much do you want to qualify for? Meaning, how much do you want your mortgage payment to be? So they should be able to tell you, hey, I qualify for $300, I qualify for $250. But if you want your mortgage payment to be $1,000, that lender should be able to tell you how much $1,000 buys for you. Maybe you need to shop at $225. That way, in order to keep your spending plan together, exactly where you should be. If you need to go up a little bit, okay. If you can go down a little bit, that's even better. But you don't want to overspend. Just because the lender says you qualify for a certain amount, you don't have to spend that amount of money. We'll gladly lend you less money. I'll say it like that. So that's one thing I'd like to point out. Additionally, going back to what I was saying earlier in regards to getting started with home ownership, many aren't aware that they are qualified. There's some myths of home ownership. People think that you have to put 20% down, which is, quite a bit of money. On a $200,000 house, that's $40,000. That's not true. There's loan programs and grants and down payment assistance available out there. If you're a veteran, zero down, you might be able to buy a home with very little money out of your pocket, as far as down payment's concerned. And so to keep that in mind. There's also a myth that you have to have perfect credit. Although perfect credit does not hurt, we will certainly accept perfect credit. But the mortgage world and the home financing world knows that, one of the very, very first bills that you're going to pay and maintain is the roof over your house. So, whereas if you have a 740 score, that's great. We'd love to see it. But if you have a 620 score, you're able to buy as well. So you do not have to have perfect credit. You do have to have a credit record, having showed that you have paid your bills and that you're responsible. And somebody with a 650 credit score shows that, especially if they're buying within their means. I would recommend that if you're going to buy, whether it's 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years from now, I recommend you get pre-qualified with a lender now. And when I mean get pre-qualified, let a lender evaluate your income, assets, evaluate your credit, and they can give you a roadmap as to what to do as far as qualifying is concerned. Once again, you may qualify right now, and all you need to know is what you're doing right now is fine. Just keep doing what you were doing. But maybe right now is not fine. Maybe you need to save some money, or maybe pay down some debt, or maybe stay on your job a little while longer, job consistency, or maybe you had a bankruptcy or foreclosure a year ago, you need to wait another year. These are the things that your lenders are going to tell you, but the key is you want to know these things so that you can know how soon in the future you're able to buy. So that's very important. So get pre-qualified right here, right now. It should be at no cost or no obligation. At Town Bank, we certainly don't charge people to get pre-qualified. So it's just investing your time and your efforts to share the information with the lender, and they can give you a professional assessment of your home buying power and such.
Ron, let me ask you something, because I know you have a lot more that you're going to tell us. Let me ask you something. When I prepared to purchase my home, because I knew that I would have to care for my mom, I worked with one of your companies at Town Bank. And one of the things that I thought was real interesting was that if I had all of the necessary paperwork that you need, all the documents that you need, then the process became much easier.
Ah. I'm throwing you kisses.
Oh. It really did.
You are 150% correct.
Yes, they actually sent me a checklist to say, if you get all of this in order, and the interesting part was some of those documents needed to be notarized.
Sometimes,
and they needed to be notarized, and I had to make sure that I was able to get to the notary so that they could verify my signature and so forth. And I literally, when I closed on my house, I was able to do it in 45 minutes.
Gotcha.
That was a lot of signing. That was a lot of work. But because that person had worked with me so closely, everything was in order. So
Perfect.
we should not fear having to get that documentation, putting it in a file. And when I say a file, in one place where everything is right there, so that when persons are trying to do what you all do, everything is right there before them.
And getting somebody that you trust. You don't have to deal with just anybody. And I think Ron has addressed that in other sessions too. If you don't like the person who you're dealing with, how they treat you, how they respond to you, you can find another mortgage lender. Correct, Ron?
Yeah.
You're 100% correct, both of you. Thank you. I'm actually on the back end helping a family member of mine that went awry buying a house in North Carolina, and he's complaining that the bank he found online in Texas keeps asking him for paperwork. And he keeps asking me why they keep asking for paperwork. And I'm like, well, you're dealing with a bank in Texas. Although we love Texas, not a bad place. It's not Texas. It's the lender that he's dealing with.
Now,
So,
Ron,
excuse me?
you know Texas is my home state.
Oh, I didn't know that. Where are you from in Texas?
Houston.
Houston. Okay. Like I said, we love Texas. My son lives in Texas. He's in Dallas, Fort Worth right now. And we love Texas. And Texas just means the person's out of state. When you as you said earlier.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time, but you are perfectly correct.
This is a paperwork intensive process to buy a house. It's not horrible, but we only need a piece of paper.
Yeah, but if you do the work, you can get it done.
Exactly. If you get pre-qualified now, the lender will give you a tailored list of what paperwork they need, and then it's just checking off the list, and that's what it is. And you're correct, Pastor Daniels, 100%. One thing else I would just share with you is that this is what we do for a living. We want to help people buy houses, and it is not your lender's desire to tell you that they can't help you, because that's not how we get paid. We get paid to help folks. So we're going to give you the advice. You should be working with a lender to give you the advice necessary for you to be successful. And one thing I like to make sure everybody understands, it is only a question of when. I'll say that again. It's only a question of when you're able to buy your house. Never a question of if. Never a question of if. So when could be right here, right now, or when could be 2 months or 2 years or 2 days from now. So please keep that in mind. Another myth. I'm sorry?
No, I was saying we will definitely do that.
Gotcha. The other thing is folks will go out, especially in this day and age where we have so much access to what we feel is good information online and on right here at your phone. This is my number one competitor, my phone. because people will ask questions of their phone and think they've got the right answer. As Dawn will tell you later on when she talks a little bit more, the professional knows the answer to your circumstance. So you can ask the phone a question, and it might be the right question, but for your circumstance, it may give you the wrong answer. And that's what happens when you're not dealing with somebody that knows your circumstance, a realtor that knows your circumstance. So, and that's important to know.
Okay, well, Ron, you have allowed me now to bring Don in.
I want to ask Ron have him address one more
Well,
thing.
still there.
On your credit report, pretty much everybody has medical collections because even if you pay, they send you to collections, it seems. How does that factor into qualifying for a mortgage?
So I've got to make sure nobody from the medical world is looking around here. But the mortgage world does not really care about medical circumstances. I'll say that again. If you have a medical collection for $25, first of all, please do all you can not to get them to put the collection on your credit report in the first place. So go ahead and pay it or do whatever. But once it's on your credit report, we pretty much disregard medical because we understand how things can get awry. And even more importantly, if you pay, and this is once again, get pre-qualified right away, if you pay the medical collection off, it will actually hurt your credit. I'll say again, it'll make your credit go down because you're refreshing old information. So most likely your lender's going to say, hey, just leave it alone, let sleeping dogs lie, and you can still buy a house. That's medical collections. Now, a collection from Cox Cable or Virginia National Gas or something like that, that might be a different circumstance. But that's why you got to get pre-qualified now so they can tell you exactly what you need to do for your particular circumstance. Yes. Great question, Yvonne.
Okay,
and I'm going to bring you out of that. But Yvonne, when you all did this for us last year, we actually, one of our members was diligent and was able to purchase her first home.
Oh, that's good.
Because she followed all of the advice. She was diligent, and she understood, as you said, what she could afford. She understood what she wanted, and I had the opportunity as her pastor to bless her home.
Excellent.
So I'm looking for other opportunities to bless houses.
And we want people viewing this to contact Ron to get their qualification and to get their mortgage.
Okay. Now, let me bring Dawn up because we are, and I'm monitoring our time because I promised people we would be 90 minutes and that it would be 90 worthwhile minutes. So we have about 28 minutes left. So Dawn, can I now turn to you so that you can kind of walk us through that other side of not only getting the mortgage, but making sure you have the right realtor?
Yes, you may. I'm ready.
And what we want to say is that now that you've gotten pre-qualified with Ron, they come to you with an amount and say, I want to buy a house in this range.
Yes.
Now what?
Okay, well, first I would like to say thank you to everyone on the line. I really appreciate this opportunity. There's been a lot of extremely important information here in this session, and I'm just grateful that I was invited. I'm Dawn Simmons, and I'm with Berkshire Hathaway Town Realty. And yes, now you've qualified for your home, and I am here as the realtor to help you assist in your home search. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the role of a realtor, because there's a difference between a realtor and a real estate agent. So as a real estate agent, their job is to help guide you through the complexities of buying and selling a property, but not everyone who has a real estate license is a realtor. A realtor is not just a real estate licensee, but it's also a person who's the member of the National Association of Realtors. So what's the difference? Realtors must meet stricter education requirements that the law requires, and we're also bound not just by that law, but also by higher standards of being a realtor and code of ethics. So sometimes I get that question, what's the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent? So I thought it'd be best to just start with knowing the difference between those roles.
That's
Mhm.
great. Thank you.
That's good to know.
Thank you. So next, once you've pre-qualified and you've met with a real estate advisor, a realtor that you want to work with, they would have you sign a broker's agreement. And that's another question I get all the time is, oh, well, why do you have to sign a broker's agreement? I'm just looking and I may want to search with other real estate agents or realtors. And the broker agreement is just pretty much an agreement that you're working specifically and solely with that realtor to help assist you in your purchase of your property. And it's also just making sure that everything in the agreement is what is actually being performed within the licensee's activity. So it's just basically giving you the assurance that you have the trusted advisor guiding you through your process. And as Ron also had mentioned, if you are unhappy with your realtor, you can request another realtor. You just have to work with the brokerage to be reassigned. So don't feel like you're tied to one person if they're not providing you all of what you need in searching for a home. And I think
Hello.
Yvonne,
Hello.
you had mentioned that the realtor was taking you around and showing you homes that you were not interested in. That's why you want to make sure you have a realtor who knows specific what your needs are so that you're not wasting your time and they're not wasting their time as well.
Thank you.
So now you find your ideal home. So the property you buy will be much more than a house. It will be your home. So finding and buying the right home is a highly personalized process. And it all begins by identifying your needs, which is what we just discussed. So after you've found the home that you are interested in buying, then next you would be making an offer on that home. And as your real estate professional, we will draft all of the offer uh, paperwork, which will include price, estimated cost, close date, and the earnest money deposit that you would be providing as a down payment on the purchase of the home.
What is an earnest money deposit?
That is a great question. So, and I'm glad you asked, what is an earnest money deposit? It's a cash deposit you make when submitting your written offer on the property to show your good faith. So sellers are understandably suspicious sometimes of offers that are not accompanied by a deposit because it's not showing your interest of how you're definitely interested in that property. So it's a good faith deposit to show that I'm in this. This is the house that I'm interested in, and I'm looking to move forward.
But that's not your down payment, right?
No, it's not. Your down payment will be provided by your mortgage lender, Ron.
Well,
Yes.
so the earnest money deposit, as Dawn was saying, it shows the seller how serious, and
Mhm.
and your realtor, like Dawn, will let you know what they recommend that you do. The money that you do put down for earnest money gets credited towards the transaction. So if you put down $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, then that's basically paying settlement cost and down payment. That money gets credited back toward you, so you don't
Right.
lose the money as
Right.
long as you perform under your contract.
Exactly. And so after the earnest money deposit is collected on the home and the offer has been accepted, next would be the home inspection. And so home inspections are real important because that if the home inspection comes in and you're not in agreement with the findings from the home inspection, there's a contingency clause that either the homeowner the current homeowner will fix those items, or you can back out of the contract at that time. So that's very important to know, that there is a home inspection contingency in your purchase agreement.
And Don, I know you all are doing this, but also when that inspection is done, uh, is it advisable for the purchaser to be there when, as they're doing that inspection, and being very clear about what that inspection report says?
Yes, and that is a great question, because it is always best that you attend the home inspection. Sometimes if the homeowner is out of state, um, as a realtor, I'm always there anyway. I'm always going to attend the home inspections, because that's me doing my due diligence with the home inspector and walking through the property. Because also, as a real estate professional and having years of experience in the industry, just walking through homes, sometimes we know what to look for, which may be items that the buyer is not looking at. So looking in the ceilings, looking for any leaks and things like that, because sometimes the home buyer is just very excited about the home, and they just see, oh my God, this is my dream home. But the realtor can look and see, okay, I see this plug looks out of whack, or just little lines in the ceiling that show that there's possibly been some leakage and things like that. But yeah, it's always best to attend. So this way, when you're walking through with the realtor and the home inspector, you can ask a lot of questions. And the home inspector, they're real thorough, and they'll
Yes, they are.
even educate you on items throughout the house that they're looking at. That
Well,
if it's really worth,
yeah. My
if it's really
inspector
insurance.
actually spoke with my insurance company and negotiated a lower premium
Yes,
because of what that inspector could literally point out and say about the home I was purchasing.
right. So yes, we walk you through the home inspection process. And then after that, that's when you're working with the whole team. And as a realtor, I'm very heavily involved with keeping in contact with the mortgage company, keeping in contact with the title company, making sure that your title uh, process is working through smoothly, as well as with the mortgage company, normally getting weekly updates, making sure that all the correct paperwork has been submitted from both the buyer's side as well as from my side as well. And so then after that, your loan is approved, all the paperwork is assembled, and we head towards closing, which I just had one yesterday at 4 o'clock. And so during that process, that's when you turn on your utilities, you get your insurance policies, you turn in your certified check, pay any outstanding bills, and take keys to closing. And that's the best part of my job, is when at the closing I'm able to hand over keys to new homeowners.
Amen. All right. Now, Yvonne, let me turn back to you, because we are now getting under that 15-minute mark. And I'm going to watch the comments just in case folk want to submit something that they want to have you all reply to very specifically. But of course, all of what you all have done today has been wonderful, excellent. And it tells us that we really do need to do sessions like this on a regular basis, uh, so that as we move through the year, we can reach more people and get this information out to more people, because it really will help uh, people to know that we can really not only manage our resources better, but we can also do some things that I think Ron said that we think sometimes we can't do. And then you find out you really can do it. You really can purchase your own home. You really don't have to be a renter. You can do that, or you can save more than you thought you could save. And so I think it's important for us really being faithful to that, ensuring that as a role of ours as a church, that we are helping folk to understand that it is not just us showing up on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday evening. It is about us showing up seven,
Exactly.
seven
And
days,
yes.
24/7 to be an encouragement to one another.
I have a question for Dawn. So even if we, as you're putting us all back, when the inspector finds something, can you negotiate if it's minor enough? I know when I bought my home, it appraised for much, much more than the purchase price.
Oh,
So I needed probably, because I was buying it as is,
mhm.
and it needed about $6,000 worth of repairs. And the realtor got somebody to make all of those repairs, and they were able to add that to my mortgage.
Mhm.
And it was amortized with the whole mortgage, and I still qualified for it. That was just adding an extra $6,000 to my home price. And that's why you look at something that's under your budget
Right.
rather than over your budget. I had enough room to add that in and not even have to pay for it. Got my new steps and deck and all that stuff.
Right. Well, I can give you two quick examples. One with the home inspection. I've had recently a home buyer. The house was on the market for 170, and there were a lot of fixes that need to be done to the home. The homeowner actually had family members that were electricians and in the business. So um, I got an invoice, did some research on how much all of those items would cost, and I was able to go back to the listing agent and lower the price on the home. So the
Mhm.
house was on the market for 170, but I negotiated a price of 162. So you can negotiate if
Mhm.
there are items in a home inspection that's going to cost and come out of pocket. And then on the second example, you mentioned uh, appraisals. So this last offer that was submitted, the homeowner wanted 359. I had I turned in an offer for 350, but the appraisal came back at 320. And so we negotiated to up to 325 the price for the buyer. He was willing to come out of pocket a little over the appraisal, but not the 350 that
Mhm.
the seller was looking to sell the home for. So yeah, there's some negotiation between home inspections as well as home appraisals.
Okay. Well, again, I want to thank all of you for sharing this with us today. And as I said, the next time we gather, we're going to go just a little further and start to talk about small businesses
Mhm.
Great.
and the ability to form that banking relationship that matters. I shared this at our midday brunch that when this coronavirus impacted all of our lives, Town Bank walked with me and really held me by the hand so that our church could secure one of the PPP loans, which made all the difference in the world in terms of our staff, making sure that we could continue to do ministry, making sure that we were able to maintain at a level that allowed us to be effective in our community. But that was expertise that I did not have. But the bank in your various departments actually put me in contact with folks that walked me through filling out the application, making sure that I had everything right. So the next time, I'm hoping that we can start to go a little deeper as it relates to developing a small business if you want to, or making sure that if you want to do something else, that you know exactly what your bank can offer you.
Mhm.
It's more than just walking into the lobby or driving through the drive-through window. you really need to have a personal relationship with your banker.
Mhm. That is so true.
Okay.
And we have those workshops already planned. So just say the date and we'll get
Amen.
it done.
All right. Well, Martha is still with us and she can hear us. But for all of you, thank you. Thank you so much. And I am hoping that this will not only just benefit the church that I serve, I am praying that this will benefit other congregations in my conference, other congregations in my community. And I will be sure to refer them to you all so that we can keep this network developed so that we know who to call and how to get in touch with you.
And Ron can process mortgages all over the state, can't you, Ron? It doesn't. They don't have to be here.
Yes, ma'am. We are financing throughout the state of Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, and Tennessee. So we can help most anywhere. And as Don said, things are somewhat negotiable, but you want to make sure that you, I'll say it again, get pre-qualified. Get pre-qualified right away. It doesn't hurt. And I'd like to point out one thing I did not iterate, but we all have to live someplace. So we may have a mortgage already. It's just may not be yours. You're paying your landlord's mortgage or something like that. So why not get in the game and get with Dawn, get with myself, and we can help you potentially get with whomever you're going to talk to. But go ahead and start building that wealth and of that equity in your own home. Now's the time.
Another thing, during the pandemic, people who were renting and they were worried about being evicted. When you owned your own home, typically the mortgage company does not want that mortgage back. So some of them were able to renegotiate their mortgage while they did not have the income at the time. So they did not have to worry about being put out on the street.
Okay. All right. So again, thanks to all of you.
Dawn has one more question.
You have one more?
Well, I was going to add to piggyback with Ron that I service all of the Hampton Roads area all the way through Richmond. But if you are looking to relocate out of the area, you could still reach out to me because we do have referrals throughout the country.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'll say this again. This information, because of how we did it today, it is in video form and will be accessible on our website. And our website for my church is numcba.org. We will also make the documents that you all sent to me available in downloadable format as well. And then we will actively seek other congregations that may want to join with us the next time and make sure that we can continue to share this kind of information that can not only enhance people's lives, but can really encourage them during this difficult time when we're dealing with this coronavirus, especially. So, Yvonne, thank you. Dawn, thank you. Ron, thank you. And Martha, you're not on the screen with us right now, but I think I can get you back in to say once again, thank you. You didn't have to spend your Saturday afternoon with us, but you all did, and we really are so grateful. We will be in worship and praise in the morning, virtually, online, at 9 a.m. So if you all want to join us, feel free. But for all of you who actually came online, and for those that will be watching, we just want you all to know that our mission at our church, our vision, is for us to continue to be the presence of Christ where we are serving, to ensure that we are actively reaching and doing all that we can to be a blessing to all of God's people. Amen?
Amen. And could you give the website again?
Sure. The website is NUMC, as in Norfolk United Methodist Church, VA, Virginia.org. And we will follow up with persons that were on with us by email and make sure that all of that information is included as well. and we will be sending out the documents by email, and then again, they will be downloadable on our website.
Thank you.
So, all of you be blessed of the Lord. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay warm. And until we gather again in this format, may God bless you and may God keep you. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.